Hello and welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Factory. I'm your host, Mookie Spitz, and I'm thrilled to have the writing team, the dynamic duo of Ben and Karen Gibson in the factory today. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
I am well, and you guys are probably even better now that you guys have launched your debut novel with Selene Press, Freedom's Vow. And I checked it out, and it's super fun. And I'd love to talk to you about it and get people excited about it. It's a recent release.
Yeah, it came out May 19th. So whenever this publishes, it'll be pretty close still.
Great. And next to Sam Rob's Sense of Murder, it's new to the press. It's Canon Press branching off into fantasy, if I got that right.
Yep.
And you guys are leading the charge.
Sure.
Yep.
How did it happen? You guys have done a bunch of short stories for Raconteur Press, and now you have dipped your toes in a big way into the full-length novel, and I believe this is the first in a series in the Shepherds series, book one,
trilogy.
With more goodies coming. So tell us about it. How did this?
Well, if you want to talk about me meeting John,
go ahead.
Actually met John last year at LibertyCon, which is a con over in Chattanooga. We actually were talking. He was interested. He is about to release an RPG based on his Fey Wars series, which I think he mentioned when he was interviewing with you. I have, for the last, it's almost 10 years now, I've been publishing RPG adventures. So I've been doing that for a long time. And so John and I started talking for a while, and he was asking if asking for advice and asking I was happy to talk about, the stuff he needs to know for the RPG side. But John being John, he always loves to, hey, if you got a book, we can publish it. Well, Karen and I have written quite a few, but we always kind of figured if we have to go the independent route, we would want to have a big backlog. So Freedom's Vow was that book number 9? Was it the 9th we read?
8 or 7. Yeah.
Are these books that you guys have just written?
Mm-hmm.
So you're keeping it close and you were waiting for this moment, or are they published? Did you indie publish them?
No, they were written and just sort of waiting. And we also wanted to be smart about how we release it. We want to have series done before we do that, and wanted to have released the right kind of novel for the right kind of time. So
yeah, we have one series that's more of a genre blend. It's not quite sci-fi fantasy blend, but it's a little bit more fantastical. And so we were like, we really enjoy that series, but it probably would not be a good intro into the fantasy market.
And then we've written standalones, which are some of them are more blended. So the thought is to kind of lead with the foot forward will be the Shepherd trilogy, which is all written as well.
Wow, so you guys have been toiling in the shadows, so to speak, and then this seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring it to light. John had a need for a fantasy novel for Selene. You guys met at LibertyCon. We're hanging out. And you're like, oh, yeah, sure. You reach into your pocket, and here not only is one novel, but a whole trilogy. Go for it.
Well, you would have laughed since you've met John. He, at the end of every press meeting, he, if whichever author has released one, his joke is, all right, so when do you have your next, I can't do his New York accent, but when do you have your next, when do you have next book for me?
If you haven't met John, you need to picture a big cigar, and explosions in the background, kind of like Tropic Thunder.
Exactly. Well, I mean, So he's like, say, when do you have the next book for you? I was like, oh, are you ready for it now? He goes, what? I said, yeah, we'll send it along.
We've got it.
I was like, I'm still working on the revisions for book 3, but yeah, book 2 is ready to go. So here you go. So he's like, yeah, sure, okay. I think that surprised him that the joke was there.
You guys are co-authors, so you're a married couple. How long have you guys been together?
Almost 16 years.
Yeah, it'll be 16 years this year. So.
Yeah.
Okay, congratulations. And how long have you been writing together?
Almost the full time, actually. It started out with I was writing a novel when we were first married, and I kind of picked it up and put it down. I wasn't super dedicated to it because we had a couple kids early, but Ben was always interested in reading what I wrote and had great commentary. And the first novel is not to be seen. It's not a good novel. We're just going to let that one be. But he was always very encouraging.
We'll keep it under wraps.
Yeah, exactly. He was always very encouraging. And so it started out like as a developmental editor. And then through time, it kind of shifted into us writing together. And so now we actually have a split that's pretty even as far as who does what writing.
So do you assign chapters? Like you do this chapter, you do that one, or do you pass the manuscript back and forth to each other and you guys each do your thing? How does it work logistically? Because that kind of arrangement, I'm sure people are wondering, how do you pull it off?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So it kind of depends on what we're writing. We had a sci-fi story in one of the Rack Press anthologies that we released, and that one was very much like in and out of the scene. Yes, Pogue 2. So with the sci-fi story, it was very much like scene by scene, and even like I would put brackets in the places where I was writing where I wasn't sure if the science was going to work out or if the action was going to work out. And so the sci-fi is very blended. Now with the fantasy, a lot of times we will write like larger scenes by scene, so like chapter sections. And sometimes we do it like at the same time. Sometimes I finish the draft and then he goes back and adds everything up. So it varies.
And we always have the outline. So the biggest part is we'll always have an outline together. We always start with an outline, a pretty detailed outline, and we work at that together. We work, just that's a conversation back and forth over usually several evenings, where we'll just talk about where this goes. We'll have the first story in mind, but we kind of work out where everything goes. I usually have the initial outline, and then Karen pokes it full of holes. She'll just ask a question. Now that this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. So she'll and that's great because it means I have to answer all the questions she has. She pokes in it and improves all of it. So that we're working through that outline. It helps for coordination.
Yeah,
sounds like you complement each other really well. You've got different skill sets maybe that you bring to it. Is there a concept person and a get it done person, or are you both throwing down in terms of the creativity and the characters? How do you divide and conquer?
How would you say that? We work together.
Yeah, I'd say both of us have concepts we add. Sometimes it starts with her idea, sometimes it starts with my idea, depending on what we're writing. But we always we'll toss stuff in together. I don't think there's any books that don't have both of us working to develop characters. We do a lot of back and forth and talking. Like most of our planning is a conversation. Yeah. So usually we're just talking to each other, annoying our kids with it. We'll just be chatting back and forth of it, trying to figure things out. So it's usually a blend. I'll bring if it's fantasy, I'll usually bring kind of a history background for that. So I usually have the history, but for Freedom's Vow, for example, Karen's the one who came up with the magic system, and then I kind of worked with that. So, but it really depends on the book because we'll back and forth all of this.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I had another married couple and they write together, Blake and Sherry Shimshock, and they do the Derek Fade series. And they're different in that they really divide and conquer. So Sherry's the one actually sitting down and she's getting all the words on the page and she does all the editing, and then she throws it back at Blake. And Blake is like the concept guy. He sees all the space agents and the intrigue and talks it through with Sherry. And then she's the one who kind of executes. And there's another writing duo I had on the podcast too, Phil and Paul Garver, and their pseudonym is Daniel P. Douglas. And they're identical twins. It's a trip. And they're the kind of identical twins who look really different. One is bald and the other one has kind of the librarian glasses. So they're distinct. And they toss things back and forth. Sometimes Paul will lead it, sometimes Phil. So what I'm getting from these duos is you guys are each your own thing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any one way to do it.
And I think you guys are super lucky. I do a lot of writing too, and it's basically my bald head with the keyboard. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can get kind of lonely, and you don't know whether you're crazy or not, or whether it's a good idea. And having someone you're working with throughout the whole process, that must be really rewarding for you guys.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate it.
It's really good,
Yeah.
especially I'm the extroverted half of us, so I need to be able to get feedback. I need to. Karen likes to have the artistic merit of a story done. I like to finish things good, but for me, it's all about telling. I have to have somebody I'm telling the story to.
Mm.
Right.
That's my motivation set.
That's the GM in you coming out.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the So I've got to have that, but you really appreciate the feedback too.
I do.
It is
I do.
it is lonely to do it, by
Mhm.
themselves.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine what it would be like to do it just by myself. Actually, just used to.
That's why I bring this up, folks, because you guys are in that rare category of co-authors. The
Yeah.
Expanse team, the show and the book,
Yes.
the Expanse, those guys are friends and they toss chapters to each other, if I got it right. Like you do the even chapters and I'll do the odd ones, and then they email chapters back and forth, and they got into a rhythm. So they collaborate. And then you got Matt and Trey from South Park. So you do have a lot of creative collaborators, but for writers, it's, I think, relatively rare. And the fact that you're so symbiotic and you enjoy each other doing it is very inspiring. That's great. You guys fight ever? I don't like that. Or do you get pissed that your idea didn't get in there, or you got to arm wrestle to get that story hook done one way or another? Or are you guys more or less simpatico with the whole process?
Yeah, we don't really argue.
No argue.
No.
That's
No.
amazing too.
Yeah, we'll have differences, but
Yeah.
I trust. The thing is, anything I'm writing, Karen is 100% going to edit, and anything she writes, I'm 100% going to edit.
Mm-hmm.
So it generally is. I trust her as a reader. If she has a problem with it, then I'm definitely gonna have to change something, and vice versa. So anytime I do that, you'll do it too. Just like we trust each other.
Trust, empathy, obviously a lot of affection and love, and then you guys have the mojo going on, and the output is self-evident. If you guys have cranked how many novels? 9 novels, you said? This trilogy's done?
Is it 12 now?
I think it's 12.
Yeah.
Wow. So you just shoebox it? You do a novel, you go on to the next one? You haven't thought of tossing it out there, hitting up someone like John? You guys were waiting for this moment, or were you building confidence?
We submitted the manuscripts, some of the manuscripts we had, to a few places. Bayan was one of them. And of course that slush pile was so huge, we didn't really expect to get in on that, but it was something
hard.
to do.
It's hard. It's crazy out there. It's like a tsunami of content.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we didn't get anything there, but it was okay. It was good to try. And did we try any other publishers, like small press things?
When Art Press came out, we talked there. We talked to Aethon people, and that was just a genre mismatch, but which is fine. It's not shoeboxed forever, although I'm glad. So I like the fact that we waited, because, as Karen said, the first novel's never seen the light of day. The second novel, it's about 50%.
50% salvageable.
Yeah. So that's going to have a rewrite.
Everyone learns, folks. When you ride a bicycle, you fall down. You can't tune your guitar for 6 months. Just keep playing, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
But I'm glad we have those, because the plan was to kind of get started and then have stuff as we're going. For one thing, it's really handy to work on a different, once you're done with something, you move on to something else. Karen just recently finished the first draft of the third in the Shepherd trilogy, because our objective was to finish that before we release the first, because we don't want to be, but obviously there's revisions to do. So I'm handling the revisions right now, while Karen just jumped into the next one, jumped into a different genre, which you found it really refreshing to go in a different genre, different setup, different. Like, it's nice to be able to flip there back and forth, so you don't have to work on just one. But some of that just requires patience. It's okay. We'll take a little time. That's fine.
All this must be arousing John, because once he finds an author that he likes, and then they get the rhythm, bring me more content. Right? So you've got the backlog, and you're also building, and you're creating.
Yeah, well, I mean, John's also a smart businessman. So a small press like what he runs, he actually can't publish everything because he's an actually legit publisher. He's not a vanity press. He doesn't ask for money up front, which, as you know, that is a huge red flag. But John is a very honest guy. He's not going to do that. But as a result, I mean, most small presses like that don't have the ability to put out tons and tons and tons of novels every, they don't have a huge pipeline for that. They only have so much budget they have and so much time for editors because
you have only so many editors.
Even though we're back and forthing, dev edits are still great. Mm-hmm. It's a really big, you still want somebody else looking at it. So actually you talked to Samra because we're publishing, out of Selene, but we sent some short stories to Rack Press, and then Rack Press, had an open call for people who've done stories with them. Hey, send some novels. So we have some novels that are more for their tone. One's a boys' book, and then another one is a weird.
I don't know how would you describe that one. I don't know.
Another one is, I think it is. Let's see. It is a near future post-apocalyptic paranormal sci-fi religious thriller. There you go.
That sounds like some shit I would write. Just a big mix of a million things all at once, which is hard to pitch because people they like their lane. People want to be in their lane.
I mean, reasonably. So we were talking to Rack, so we sent that. They haven't made any decisions there. We love that thing and definitely going to release it at some point. But the point is, there's only so many resources people have, and it's not like, I'm really happy to work with John. We've enjoyed working with John. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we immediately sent him the next one. He's great to work with, and we're very pleased with Shepard. But that doesn't mean that's the only project you ever work with. Nobody ever signs your firstborn child. Well, actually, so again, some presses do that. That's called being bad in a predatory press. Never, ever, and John will be the first one to tell you, never sign a contract with somebody that says all future works are mine. That'd be evil.
The fraud out there is huge. Everything from email scammers promising you that Netflix miniseries if you just respond, right? All the way to vanity presses, to your point, which is pay to print.
Yep.
With no assurance even that you're going to make money on the books that do sell.
I know.
It's riveted with fraud. Mm-hmm. And, you make a great point that if you are an honest press, you've got limited pipeline. And that's what I was hinting at, that John must be thrilled because you guys are a creative engine. He likes your stuff. Mm-hmm. And you've got a trilogy cooking. That is a great opportunity. And speaking of which, tell us a little bit about it. I've checked it out, and you've got a little Hellenic Greek mythos.
Yeah, kind of that Greek theme. Yeah. So kind of our, I guess, the one of the fast elevator pitch, it's our Freedom's Vows are epic fantasy novels set in a Hellenistic world of myth and adventure. So rather than like a hard magic book that's never setting foot outside the city, Freedom's Vow, a young magically gifted slave and an old soldier are embarking on a quest for freedom by journeying through a classical Greek-inspired world of mystery and danger, trying to stop a war between their two cities, orchestrated by darker forces from outside their world. So it's written for anyone who loves fantasy adventure and the excitement of a spear on a shield. Like, that's kind of our quick pitch. Most of it is we just love the classic, we love journeying. I'm always twitching. I'm like, we got to get outside of a city. There's so many stuff, I get twitchy if we're inside of a city. Yeah. I'm just like, no, I kind of grew up on journey fantasy where you go out into places of myth and legends in the wild. And so that's kind of that was a big appeal to us. Yeah. And that's all the books in the trilogy. The city is a big part of it. But it's also going to be out and about. You're going to see wilds and strange things. Mm-hmm. So that's the excitement.
I like the character of Arit, who is a shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that without too many spoilers, but I think this is a good teaser. She's got a gift, and she teams up with Phylon, who is a soldier who witnessed that gift wrecking his group. And rather than being vengeful, the dude is like, wait a second, I want to understand you. And they create this interesting relationship between soldier and shepherd. So can you give us a little zip to that? How did you think of that dynamic? Did I more or less get it right?
It's close to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's close to it. So a lot of it is, you know, the shepherds are people who are gifted with the magic to inspire passions in other people. So they can inspire rage or courage. They can inspire fear or calm.
My kids do that.
Yeah, that's where all of it comes in. But they also have kind of the mechanisms of it is there. But you witness in the prologue, you witness the fact that they can also do a little bit more, and that's not all of them, but some of them can do a little bit more. And Philon witnesses some rather horrific elemental powers that throw over his city, and that's what gets him enslaved. So he kind of witnesses that, and he doesn't really understand. So I wouldn't say Philon's not vengeful. I'd say though that he's the kind of vengeful guy that thinks and wants to study the problem before he goes into
know thy enemy. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've loved the dynamic between them, because he is kind to her early on, but he also wants to know. He's using her to understand more about shepherds as she learns about it too.
Yeah, it's a mix. Yeah.
I think the premise is superb, and that, to your point, you don't go over the top with the magic. So a lot of fantasy novels just go bonkers with the world building, and then there are all these spells, and they go in wormholes, and you're turning pages, and it seems to neglect character and drama and an emergent story which is emotionally compelling. And you guys honor the characters, their motivations, and as you're reading it, you want to be a part of that, and you can identify with either character, which is I think cool. And it's not so much about good guys and bad guys, but it's about their dynamic as this emergent relationship, and that, I think, makes for a compelling read.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like characterization comes first. We read stories because of the people in the stories.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to get that right.
Yeah, I often will pick up a book because, well, you pick up the book because of cover, and then you read the blurb. But the reason why you start something is because of setting. This is an interesting setting idea. But the reason why you keep reading is because you like to spend time with the people in it. That's why you would ever want to keep reading. And we've been really pleased with the people who've reviewed so far. Everybody's been really. It's nice because you're very close to the story. You work on it hard, so your hope is always that other people will find them compelling too. And so far, everybody's been like, "I really care." And there's been so we got our first 4-star review, and the guy was like, "My complaint, the reason why I'm knocking a star off is I wanted more Philon." So I think that's a good complaint.
That's a good sign.
That is, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
We've got 2 more books coming, so we can definitely accommodate that.
And that is a great point, because people get vested. You're not going to get that kind of reaction and that kind of disappointment if that character didn't really move this person to the point where they self-identify and just want more. It's like you're serving a meal to people, and if their criticism is you didn't give me enough, then hey, that's that, to your point, is a terrific compliment. It's not really a criticism.
We just served up. We were just writing 2 more books. We just wrote 2 more books, so we have it. Don't worry, we got more.
And how does this unfold? Just what kind of arc are we talking? Again, no spoilers. We don't want to ruin anything. But when you were writing the first one, did you have enough juice to think that it would be a trilogy? Because you say you guys outlined. That's a big part of your process. Was the outline limited to just this one, or was it a bigger arc of a story and you knew you were onto something really juicy?
Well, we initially knew that it would be at least a trilogy. Ben wrote the prologue, and in it, there's a man who's very mysterious. He's the one that drives the city to its knees. And in that, we were like, this character needs exploration. So we know that we're going to develop this particular character throughout the entire series. And so we knew there would be at least 3 books, and we had the first one outlined completely. And it was pretty soon after that we knew there would be 2 more books, and we kind of had the main idea of what was going to happen in each of those. We didn't outline them until later. And I would say we outlined the second, wrote the second, and then outlined the third and wrote the third. But we kind of had an idea of where we were going first.
Yeah.
A good balance between the two, which is the everyone says that the planner and the plancer or the pantser.
Yeah.
The writers who just kind of like wander around and they think up cool stuff, and other ones who are really working out every detail before they even hit the keyboard. So it's a bit of a balance for you guys, right?
Yeah. Although I will say, of the 3 books, Freedom's Vow is the most. It tells a complete story, but then there's a lot of stuff going on for. Yeah. There's the bigger arc, but it does tell its own complete arc as well. Because I mean, I always figure that's kind of something you owe to anybody who's reading.
It doesn't end on a cliffhanger that's like, oh no, I have to read the next book. This is very incomplete. Right. Why are we stopping here? No.
Do the Dan Brown thing, where it's like, oh my God, I got to get off the bus. I can't.
Right.
I got to finish this. That works pretty well.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, again, you knew enough to be dangerous for the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't really like George Lucas in Star Wars, where frankly had no idea how to even finish the first movie. Everyone looks back and it's like, oh, the nine series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nah, he had no idea after the fact. Luke's his son and Darth's his dad, whatever works. So it shows you the way the creative process varies, right? Depending on the writer.
It's really crazy. He only made 3 movies. There's only ever 3 Star Wars movies. It's just pity. I wonder what would happen if there were more. They would probably have been great and not at all disappointing.
It's sometimes a roll of the dice, but if you stay true to your vision and what fueled the process in the beginning, I think you're probably set for a good time, especially for the people on the receiving end of your content. And speaking of which, receiving end of content, what inspires you guys? So has speculative fiction been your focus since you guys first started working together? Is that your preferred genre? You guys aren't doing historical novels or biographies of...
No, I actually recently read Rebel Yell, biography of Stonewall Jackson, and that really helped with the militaristic side of the second and third book. So there's a little bit of that, but mostly we are
heavy genre readers. Yeah. I like biographies too. That's kind of an inspiration, but we never had a drive to write that. Some of it is Karen's minors in tech writing, and I do a ton of technical writing too. So the nonfiction writing, I do enough in my day job. I do plenty enough in my day job. I didn't feel like there was a need. I can't imagine going into all the very technical writing and then writing a nonfiction technical book afterwards. That'd be very different.
That's relatively rare. Like classical musicians can't play jazz. They can't improvise. It'll kill them. They got to just read the notes on the damn measure, and they got to play it exactly surgically because that's who they are. And then jazz people, a lot of them don't even read music. It's just like they're letting it loose. And then creative writing, like what you guys are doing at night for something like Freedom's Vow, is just so different in a sense from technical writing. Totally different attitude, totally different mindset, probably different part of the brain. Is it a bit of a relief to your point? Like all day I'm laying down specifications for an app, and then I come home and I hang out with Karen and we recreate Greek society and infuse it with magic. Is that therapeutic in ways?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun. It's definitely something so the thing is, we would be coming up with this sort of thing for free no matter what, even if we never shared.
Well, you did for years.
Yeah.
For years you guys were writing where the only positive reinforcement was the pleasure that you guys got working together and the feeling of satisfaction that you were finishing stuff and getting better at it. That's very admirable too, because a lot of folks are like they write to be Andy Weir, they write to win. You think there's this other reason that we do this, and there's a purity in just being able to create without worrying too much about that stuff. And then to your point, when you're ready, then sure, go for it. But that's, I think, satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we always wanted to share the stories because there's something about artistic stuff that's meant to be shared. But it's like I don't ever remember feeling an urgency to do so. I always felt like down the road we will find somebody to publish our stuff or we'll indie publish. So we'll get there, but it didn't have to be at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's kind of, we'd like to be successful, but mostly we'd like to be successful because we like to share more stories. We'd like to have more people reading. Like
Mhm.
it's the excitement is not, oh, I've got sales number, we're looking at this, the excitement is, oh, awesome, more people get to, and like we get to share the story with more people. We get to have more people enjoy it. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
Now you're busting out. So you guys worked and now you hooked up with John. And I talked to John and he basically said 50-50. I'm going to put you on my mailing list. I'm going to get you a badass cover. I'm going to give you editorial and creative support. You're under my logo and we work together as a team. But there's a handoff, which is the onus is on the writer to go out there and do some hustling, whether it's social media engagement, do videos on TikTok, Book Talk, go to Comic Cons, go back to LibertyCon with Scene of the Crime. You guys are busy though. You've got kids, you've got jobs, you've got the whole American situation. So, what are your plans for doing the marketing aspect of your debut novel? How are you guys going to activate those readers who now are ready for the book that you've worked so hard to create?
We have to do anything more. We're on the science fiction factory with Mookie Spitz. I don't think there's anything more. I mean,
That's it.
that's it. That was.
Yeah, I'm going to send the link to this podcast to John and just be like,
you should. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
that's
that's
it,
what was needed.
buddy. They chatted with Mookie and that's it.
Yeah. So actually, so part of it is, I've been publishing RPG adventures for a long time. So I have a list there. This might shock you. There's a huge overlap between people who love fantasy and people who play D&D style games. I know.
Had lit RPG guys too on my podcast before, and I think the genre is fascinating. I learned a lot. Lit RPG is hot.
Mhm.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, well, so I've been telling basically my fans on the RPG side, just, hey, there's a fantasy book. Hey, if you I know you like the stories and setup I do, even though I don't write out, when I write out adventures, I'm not writing out something to run them through a story. I very much have a sandbox. Players go play with it and break it, whatever they want. But I was like, I like setting this stuff up, so why don't you check it out? And I did, like, we put, the nice thing about being a publisher is I can put full spread ad in the back of my adventures. So I have done that. It's, in that case, I am the publisher. I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put it in the back here. We can see it. We talk to folks. A lot of it is doing shows like this. Talking. Just hopefully sharing that with RPG side people as well. And then we both have, we have some social media punch, although I don't think social media people they try to market that way. It's good to make friends who like to buy your stuff because they like you as a person. Social media, though, is made to be social media. It's made to be social. It's made to keep everything in platform. Everything, Facebook, Twitter, like TikTok, Instagram, everything like that, hates free advertising.
Oh yeah, why should they give you reach?
Exactly.
When they could squeeze you and make you pay for it. Every once in a while they'll throw you a teaser like, "Ooh, you went viral." Like almost by accident. I'll post a video and I'm like, "Wow, look at that." And then 5 minutes later I'll post something else almost exactly the same. They're like, come on, Mookie, pay up if you want another one.
Yeah, so we're telling people on that, but honestly, the biggest reach for those has been relationships you make, and people who do know us on the socials are like, oh, I know these are real human beings. I like Ben and Karen. These are people who share memes and jokes, and just I think it's important to just be a person, because any genre that they don't care about you being a person will be completely swamped by AI stuff. The reader who does not care about a human being, there's no point in competing for that reader. I mean, I'm not one of those. I don't understand that reader, but you know what? That reader is swimming in an ocean of high content. There's no point in me trying to say, hey, let me sell you something different. Because if that person likes the AI stuff, that's great. But I do say, hey, we're a pair of actual human beings. This is the stuff we like to do. This is the stuff we're having fun with. And other people go, yeah, I'd like to check it out. And then it's important to actually write something that's interesting and fun. Again, that's the people go check it out. And then something that's interesting and fun, people go, oh yeah, this is fun.
Mhm.
Like this is something we can enjoy together.
Content is king and the context is queen, as they say. So when it comes to social media, it really is about community building.
Yep.
So it isn't just barfing out your stuff. And even if you do paid ads, to your exact point, you're competing with all the AI slop.
Mhm.
They don't really know who the hell you are, and it's an unqualified lead, so to speak. And all of a sudden you appear on their feed, they're doom strolling anyway. They got no connection with you. So really, what's the damn point? And if you do want meaningful engagement, it should be human to human. That's one reason I love these podcasts, because I get to meet other authors and we get to talk cool ideas, and it becomes amazingly human. Like, how often do we like a writer too and we just see them? We see them on Substack, or their stuff appears on social, and it's just text. There's a barrier.
Yep.
To actually meet a writer and to talk to them, that they're human and they're scintillating with cool ideas is super fun. We should all do more of it, which is connect with people. And then the other one is going out to actually physically sell books. So are you guys, is there going to be another setup at LibertyCon? And are you part of the Canon Selene gravy train now? Are you guys going to go for that?
Yeah, Ben's headed to LibertyCon this year.
Yeah, so I'll be there at LibertyCon this year, and we'll be setting up at the table, telling people. Actually, Rack Press is there too, so I'll be like, hey, you're welcome to buy the anthologies we're in. Although I have my personal copy where we want to get signatures from other people who wrote in the anthologies, just because, hey, I really enjoyed I enjoyed the story. Can I get you sign our book? But yeah, so we're going to do the in-person sales thing too. We're not doing a huge con circuit right now because, as mentioned, we have kids that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I brought that up too, which is part of the challenge of all this. People don't realize that the marketing aspect is so time intensive and so difficult. And then conversely, a lot of writers are like, well, I killed myself to write this book. Here, world, take it. Now I'm done. So there has to be a balance between living a life where you're able to go out there and do it, and then meet your family responsibilities, professional responsibilities, because there aren't too many full-time writers out there. It's like tip of the pyramid, right? I've had like Nebula Award winners, fantasy winners, and I have them on, and I'm even a little intimidated. Like, this person has just had their book reviewed in the Wall Street Journal and Scientist magazine, and I'm like, and then he's the first to say it, is like, man, I got a day job. Thanks for making time, Mookie, because I got to go back and pay the rent. So it's tough. Even if you've made it, it's very, very difficult as a writer to hit that goal of being independent in a way where you're financially not having to rely on a day job. Frankly, it's hard. I mean, we do this because we love it. It'll probably be more lucrative to sell real estate, crypto, or think of all the time you guys spent writing.
Looking to make money, we would not be doing this.
Yeah, our first grader was saying that. Yet it's like, are you just wanting money? And we're like, buddy, if we just wanted money, trust me, there's many things we do differently. But I mean, obviously, we'd like to. We would like it to be successful, but a big part of the desire for success is just, like I said, the sharing that, because that's intrinsically. And I would feel like it'd be a waste of, the money would be the only thing I'd get if I was doing real estate as a side gig. Whereas Karen and I love the time we spend together on these books. We're proud of the time we spend on these. There's something intrinsically good about writing something good, putting something out there that is good, that is worthwhile. Like it's not just satisfaction, it's knowing that you've added to the world in some way, and that helps a lot. It's time we spend together. So I'm not going to discount any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I find that so relatable too. I actually love writing, and I love the meditative process of sitting here, my bald ass, just, creating stories. And I might even err on the opposite side where I love it so much I just want to write a book that I want to read. So the problem with that is, well, people might see it and they're like, well, what the hell is this? And I'm like, I'll just write another one. So being collaborative, I think, is part of the process too. And you mentioned that you passed it over to editors at Selene Press then, right? So after you meet John at LibertyCon, you're like, we've got a book, we've got a series actually, and then you throw it over the fence. How did you feel about empowering other people with your work? And when the changes came in, what was that dynamic like? Because we've got a lot of, readers and writers listening and watching, and they're curious about this too, which is it freaks people out to have people comment on their work and provide feedback, maybe move stuff around, change the situation. It's your baby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually the first step there was John called me and we had a long conversation about the book. And it was like drinking from a fire hose. He had so many things to say about it. And I wouldn't say he was tearing it apart or anything, but he was getting down into the details and being like, well, does this work? Does this work? What do you think about this? And that was amazing. Like I loved having that feedback because I think it made the book better. And I'm all for improving on the craft. Like it's not like I'm okay with murdering my darlings, basically. It can be a little painful, but at the same time, it's in the service of creating something better. And so I really appreciated that feedback. And that was the first step that we had from him before we signed on with Selene.
You guys mind melded though. I mean, on a basic level, if John comes out of nowhere and he's like calling the shots on your stuff, you sense that he had a sensitivity to the core idea and what you were trying to do.
Definitely.
I think that's really important. So if you bring in a partner, they need to get it.
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
Yeah. And he has good storyteller instincts. So again, it's the initially it's like, whoa, but I think it only, I mean, we talked about it for like an hour afterwards, and by the end of it, we're like, no, this is exciting. This improves everything here improves. The thing about editorial comments, you never have to say what the editor suggests, but you always have to address whatever the editor's problems are. Because John had some like, maybe you could do this, but this isn't working for me. So you don't have to say that maybe you can do this part, but you do have to always address this isn't working. So that was kind of a fun puzzle. I think we actually really enjoyed the puzzle aspect because, there's a craft aspect where it's just kind of interesting to figure out how best to tell something. And it's all in service of making the best possible book you can, making the story, giving what it deserves. I think that's a big part of the appeal.
And appeasing a readership that he's familiar with. He's published a bunch of books and he talks to the readers and he gets the feedback. So you have that conduit to an audience, and presumably he's channeling some of that because obviously it's in his best interest to make them happy. So if it's an honest and transparent exchange, then you're getting visibility into a target audience that you might not have thought of when you were actually writing the book. And when you're writing a book, there are a lot of different contingencies that pop up that might have nothing to do with the reader per se. You're all immersed in the story and the building. And sometimes there's still scaffolding left, right? That you kind of have to remove and polish a little bit. But it also takes a certain amount of courage to accept feedback and integrate it and collaborate.
No, it's, I guess that's that was actually another benefit of having all these novels written beforehand. It's probably a lot harder if this is your very first baby, if this is your very first experience, this is your very first manuscript, which ironically is probably the one that needs the most work. Although in the case of our first manuscript, it needed to be taken out back and shot.
You've brought that failed book up so much. I'm dying to check it out. And watch. Eventually you guys become rich and famous and doing your series, and you got the new Game of Thrones from Ben and Karen, and they go back to your first book. And it becomes the biggest hit ever.
And we look at the camera and shrug. What are you gonna do?
And then you're like this. You're like, oh no.
Okay, that's fine. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it helps. It helps to realize there's more than one story in the world, and everything. It helps. This isn't. I mean, some people just have the one story in them, and that's good. That's fine. Most people. It's something like 3% of people who start a novel ever finish it. So if you've done that one, that's all you ever want to do. That means you were part of the 3% who've attempted a novel and actually done it. There's something admirable in and of that. But at this point, we're just like, we have other stories. It's okay. We're working on other stuff. And that gives you kind of perspective. No, this one can be improved.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been good.
And having more confidence in what you write, and instead of like being so dependent on other people. I mean, you want to listen to other people, but at some point you have to be like, no, this is good. I think that this is going to work out, and not be crushed when someone else has a comment and feel like, oh, I'm a terrible writer. I'm awful. Like there's a balance there.
My kid was asking me the other day, hey, Mookie, how come they're one-hit wonders? Like, remember that song, Who Let the Dogs Out? I don't know. Who did that? I don't know. I remember the song. And there's a bunch of bands, especially from the 80s and 90s, where they had one hit, like Take On Me. Remember that video? They were slated for stardom, MTV, and they just vanished. And I just think they didn't have what you guys have, which is this hunger and this output where it's not looking at a page and going, oh man, what am I going to write now? But you guys have to make time to get all your ideas on the page. And there's two types of writers, like you say. There's the 3% who actually finish or at least start a book and get going. But of that percentage, it's even smaller where it just keeps coming. It's like it's just flowing out. I had Jay Kenton Pierce, who's Sam Robb's buddy, on it, and he just went on for 20 minutes straight about his universe, and that dude lives it. He zombie shambles all over his apartment, just channeling all of his shit. And I'm kind of like that too, and it sounds like you guys are like that too, where it's like you guys have almost more ideas than you can get on the page, and it's a matter of just getting it out there, which is cool. So you're not limited in content, but you're limited in time and resources, and just being able to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of novel ideas that we've talked about just off the top of my head. Thinking it's 8 right now.
That's what I mean. It's like it's like, what should we do now, Karen?
Yeah.
No ideas. Yeah.
But that's a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So speaking of which, you've got the Shepherd series, and it's pretty much done, and it's a trilogy. And you mentioned zigging and zagging with genre. So when people think of Ben and Karen, what's next, or what is on the horizon, just to give us a teaser about other stuff. And then when you look backward, not just forward, you guys have a bunch of books. I'm sure you're proud of some of the other novels that haven't seen the light of day yet. And now you're learning new stuff.
Yeah.
Working with John, the editorial process, developmental editorial stuff, and you're picking up the tricks of the trade. And I'm assuming you could go back to your catalog, dust stuff off, and bring that to life. A reporter asked Seth Rogen, the screenwriter and actor, "You do a movie a year. How the hell you do that?" And he goes, well, I wrote and wrote and wrote for a decade, and nobody cared, and I couldn't sell in anything. So I've got a huge stack of scripts that no one wanted before. And all the new movies you see me cranking out, I wrote those years ago, buddy. And I finally got a chance to go for it. So I think you guys are kind of in a similar boat where you already have a library of content that you could even go back to, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely we do. I would say we don't have a complete series to go back to, however. We've started several different series, and we have a couple books to write in one. We have a couple books to write in another still. So it would take some time to go back and revisit those and develop. Like in one instance, we haven't written the first book of the series. Like we initially thought we had, but then we realized, oh no, there needs to be something before this. And so we have to go back and rewrite the first one. And yeah, so what would you say?
So, and that's kind of, once again, we really do not want to put out a series without the whole thing written. That's just kind of our feelings. I mean, there's people who do it, and that's fine.
Wild though. That's very unconventional too.
Well, we're readers. We've been disappointed by series that we enjoyed that
Game of Thrones.
Yes. Well, so I kind of blame Martin for that one, but there's other ones. There's the Lies of Locke Lamora from Scott Lynch. Scott Lynch, it's not his fault. He's had some really horrible health problems. It's not, I don't blame him as a person. Sometimes just life happens, but I really, I'm not interested in continue. The first book was good, but I'm not interested in continuing the next two books because I was just like, I know the planned 7 books are never going to be finished. Whereas there's another writer, Michael J. Sullivan. He's a fantasy writer of some note. That's what he does. He always releases he kickstarts his books, but he always releases them. He's like, I'm doing the Kickstarter. I'm not doing this Kickstarter until the whole thing's done. So that's kind of where we feel about series. So the 5-book series, we've written 3 books of it, and we're like, yeah, we'll go back and we'll finish it. But I mean, I guess right now you're excited about, like I said, while I'm revising the 3rd book in the Shepherd trilogy, Karen started a Mill sci-fi book, which is going to be fun. It's going to be some of the other guys. It is a logistics. It's a logistics reservist ship. As the only survivor of a fleet disaster, they have to kind of fight their way free and be chased through an entire sector to the man who did it all. But it's a bunch of reservist other guys in a kind of aging ship that they all have to run. That's going to be the Flight of the Fox series. Looking forward to that. And then we do have some standalones. What I mentioned that Rack Press is looking at is that's a weirdo one called Oak Ridge, where it's a post CME America that has just been blasted by so a lot of electronics are gone because there's been coronal mass ejections, and at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the scientists there are experimenting with portals, and of course the portals lead to hell, and so of course hell invades. It's one of those things. But I was like, I don't like this. None of our books are ever going to be like dark or nihilistic. We don't go in for that. But I was like, for Oak Ridge, it starts with demons coming out and stuff appearing, but they get knocked back, and America, like a bunch of guard units and militia on ATVs, counter invade, and the final bit of the book is going to be United States military counter invading into hell itself behind nuclear bombardment. Yes. It ends with the protagonists using the Davy Crockett personal nuclear weapon.
That's the one-man one. It was
right
to mobile warhead.
Yes, to personally snipe the devil in the face.
I think it's like a 5-kiloton warhead.
Yes. So you can see why that one's kind of a weirdo for, like, I don't know how you put that in an Amazon category.
That's got a Hellboyish kind of flavor, only in reverse, where the humans go to hell instead of the other way around. And it's kind of like given hell in hell.
Yes.
Or given hell. That's pretty good. I love that theme. That's great.
And that's actually a standalone. So that's one we're going to be looking at.
You take a trope and you flip it around. Because usually the demons are coming from hell, right?
Well, they start that way, but
we got to deal with them here.
I mean, exactly, but they started that way. But the problem was they were invading in the middle of rural Tennessee, and that's not going to end well.
No, it's not going to end well for any invader.
No. Even the legions of hell, that's not a good ending.
I love that premise. That
Mhm.
that is super fun.
'Cause
You know, Neil Gaiman's Sandman. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're into like the graphic novels too. That's
Yeah.
a classic. And one of the best ones is when Morpheus, the dream guy, he goes to hell because
Yep.
he got a deal with Satan, and he's just, you know, kind of cooking in hell, and you got all this stuff going on. Hell is always interesting. Hell is even more interesting than heaven, I think, at least in terms of drama, right? In heaven,
Right.
it's like that Talking Head song. They're always playing your favorite song. Everything's really chill. Not much can happen. But in hell, everything goes wrong all the time. And, you know, if you're hell bent in hell, that just doubles up the trouble.
No, it's fun to do. It's always fun. Like we also, I mean, again, we always have ideas. We're looking at a boys book, some middle grade.
So YA, you guys do some YA stuff?
So YA is a tainted brand, and the fact that no boy will ever pick up a book that says YA anymore.
Oh,
Uh,
that's like kryptonite.
yes, it is definitely a boys book, like a middle grade book that, but it's some elementary kids on a caving, just like a cave tour field trip. One notice a bioluminescent salamander go wandering off, get themselves caved in and go deeper and deeper into the earth, and that's almost like a Jules Verne. I mean, we're both science nerds, so Karen's degrees in chemistry, mine's in physics. So but then it's just kind of exploring deeper and deeper into the earth, the strange biology as they go deeper and deeper in, and they meet remnant humans and all that sort of thing. But it's a bunch of kids, and that was a really fun one too.
Yeah, that's fun.
But again, we always have these ideas, but I mean, I will say also, if this is continuing to be successful, the Three C's world, which is the world where Freedom's Vow is set in, we've already talked about, man, I hope this is successful so that we can write more in this world.
We have
Because
ideas
even
for that.
right,
Why
the
not?
trilogy is complete, but there's more stories to tell.
Absolutely. And this goes back to what we were saying before. It's not about thinking of new ideas, but it's just finding the time to channel them. And then if you got the momentum of an actual commercial success, then you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good luck to you guys.
Thanks.
Very exciting. It's been a real joy listening and talking to you guys. And I just, my heart's warm seeing that, you know, a married couple collaborating, co-creating. That's very, very, very cool. What do your respective families think about your creativity? Do they think you guys are kind of weird, or are they
Well,
on board?
they're
I guess it's
nerds.
probably mixed.
They're nerds.
They're nerds. So it's
yeah.
yeah, we're nerds who come from places of nerdness, whose kids are nerds. So
They're like, this is so cool.
right.
Yeah.
It's not like you need to blush and lie at Thanksgiving, but you're like, hey, you know, here's our new salamander story, and we're giving hell in hell, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, I know recently you interviewed another gentleman from Huntsville, Alabama. So that's where we are, NASA City. This is Nerd Town, USA. So it's not the sort of thing you're ashamed about amongst your friends around here.
No,
It's a lot of fun.
That's cool, because just being associated with the space program makes it a natural. And he's a Navy guy. He was a nuclear engineer, so he's a tech guy like you, Mark Knuffer. He's got that zeitgeist, I think, too, which is that Southern spirit. Give them hell, take no names.
Yep.
And at the same time, you have that geekery that goes with it. So it's like Southern geekery, which is cool. That's a very cool combination.
It's a lot of fun.
So thank you for your time, Ben.
We appreciate
Karen
it. Thank
Gibson
you.
with their debut novel with Selene Press, Freedom's Vow, first in a trilogy. It's out where books are available. Get it on Amazon. You got the Kindle pumping too. And then when can we expect book 2?
That is up to the dev editor. So while you're texting John, you can ask, hey, have you gotten done yet? But we're when we were initially talking, we're talking about maybe it takes 4 months, because there's cover design, there's edit passes, there's formatting and that sort of thing. But that's really all that's there for it. We've got it. We've got it there, which is great. Yeah. We're excited.
And it's also marketing pacing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to keep people guessing. You want to build up market market swell, market enthusiasm for the first one. And you want them hungry, which is supply and demand, right? So if there's a lot of demand, you want to keep the supply a bit of a tease until they're ready to pop, and then you give them that, and then you can work on the third one too. Get that in the pipeline as well. So like, comment, share, subscribe, folks, and links below to visit your author page and your homepage and get your book.
Oh yeah, and I guess I should note if you've heard all this and still want to check us out for free, our newsletter, we actually have a novella set in the 3 C's universe. So we have that as a free giveaway for a newsletter if anybody wants it.
That's perfect. And that's your personal website.
Yes. Yeah, just bkgibson.com.
I'll check again below, folks. I'll have that for you. Just click on the link and then get to know Ben and Karen and track them.
Yep.
And then the Netflix miniseries.
They've been really slow about reaching out to us. I'm sure they just messed up our number.
Yeah.
They were watching the Mookie Science Factory, and come on, got to go for it. Thank you so much, and I'd love to follow up with you for book 2.
Absolutely.
You guys want to do another one, and keep it cranked. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.